welcome back to Recently Played. So last night I saw Twice for the first time, also my first K-pop concert, and I got to see the whole show from the floor. I was quite close to the stage, so it was an experience to say the least. After the show, I felt kind of dizzy and lightheaded. It was a lot to take in, and to be honest, I still feel a little bit of that today. I heard after the Taylor Swift tour, people were reporting feeling kind of weird afterwards. So I feel like I wanted to make this video to decompress a little bit, share my thoughts, feelings, and opinions on the recent Twice tour, Ready to Be, and maybe that will help me move on with my life. So I've been following Twice for a while now. I first heard them back in 2015 when TT came out, so this concert was pretty long overdue for me. And I actually didn't get tickets until yesterday morning before the show. I was not lucky enough to get selected for the Ticketmaster verified fan, which, if I can take a moment to talk about, I think was a pretty ineffective way of deterring scalping. I don't think it made that much of a difference. At no point did you actually have to verify that you were a fan. It was verified email, if we're being real. If they had some sort of Twice quiz to prove you're a fan or something like that, that would have been cool. But no, this was just Ticketmaster trying to make it seem like they're doing something without actually doing anything. But anyways, I decided to go with the buy tickets day of the show strategy, and I think it ended up working out in my favor. Somebody, I guess, canceled and needed to get rid of a floor ticket last minute, and I just saw it pop up while I was refreshing the tickets on the day of the show, and it was going for, I would say, a comparable price to what some of the nosebleed seats were going out for. So I decided that that was indeed the deal that I was holding out for, and I decided to go for it, and what do you know, it worked out. So I mentioned that this is my first K-pop show, and I guess the first big surprise for me was that it started on time. I've been to a lot of concerts, and actually showing up at the time that is printed on your ticket is certainly not regular practice for me. But I did have some familiarity that K-pop concerts usually start right on time, so I did try to be on time for it, but thanks to a subway delay, I ended up being about 15 minutes late for it, which I wasn't too happy about. I did ask somebody how much of the show I missed, and they said it was just the intro and 2 songs. So, you know, not that big of a deal, but I did miss I Can't Stop Me, which would have loved to hear. But yeah, I get there, stadium packed, Twice is on stage talking to the audience. I really have no idea what's going on. I'm just kind of fumbling around trying to find my seat. As soon as I get to my section, I just see everybody standing, and I'm trying to find out where my seat is. I asked the staff there, and they pointed me to my row, and I see everybody kind of standing near the stage, and I kind of took a minute or so to try to figure out which seat was mine, I guess just because I wanted to know, but then I realized that nobody's really paying attention to this anyways, so, you know, screw it, this is just general admission standing, and the seats are there just kind of to be in the way. And yeah, once I kind of settled in and knew where my spot was and started actually paying attention to the show, it kind of clicked with me. I'm like, oh, there's Twice, like right in front of me. They're real people in the flesh right there. And it was just kind of a surreal feeling. Like, I know at concerts, there's always a bit of that novelty of seeing the artist there live in person. But I think for this one, it kind of hit a little harder because K-pop is such a visual medium. And for Twice, I've been seeing their photos and videos for so long, and there they are. I was kind of expecting them to look a little different in person, but no, they looked exactly like they do in the photos and videos, and I thought that was pretty cool. So let's talk about the actual show. Overall, I had a great time. Very memorable night. The show was definitely looser, slower, and a bit shorter than I thought it would be. But man, the big important moments really hit home and were way better than I ever could have hoped they would be. The first song I heard them play after I got there was Go Hard off of Eyes Wide Open, which kind of caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting to hear that song that night, and I hadn't listened to that album or that song in quite a while now. First impressions, it was very nice to hear some live vocals. I think the way that they mixed the vocals in with the pre-recorded track was really well done. Like you would hear the track for a bit, and then the track with the vocals would kind of lower, and then you'd hear the live vocals instead for all of the important parts, maybe in between sections of choreography. And I think it was very well done. I've been to a lot of hip hop and pop concerts where most of what you're hearing is just the pre recorded track. I think that some artists certainly handle this format better than others, and I'd like to think that Twice is on the better end of this. Now, I will say that I was pretty disappointed with the choreography in the show overall. This obviously varied from member to member and from song to song. I think some songs in particular, which I'll get into later, were done really well, but particularly earlier in the show, I was just a little taken back by how low energy their performance was overall. To move on, note on the barking like chant throughout the show that people were doing, which I heard that people have been doing all throughout the North America tour. I just thought it was kind of weird. I don't get why people were doing that chant in particular. I could tell that the members weren't particularly fond of it. Maybe Dahyun was going along with it a little bit, but at no point were any of them actually encouraging people to do that. I get that the chant itself is something that people have been doing at certain types of shows for a long time, but it's certainly not regular concert behavior. People don't do this at every show they go to. So I don't get why people decided to do this at Twice shows in particular. It kind of seemed to me like people were just trying to get a reaction out of them. I can't speak for the members of Twice, obviously, but I would have preferred if people just didn't do that. So the general structure of the show is that they would play a few Twice songs, then they would give a kind of reflective speech in an interlude, and then they would do a few solo performances, and then there would be another reflective speech, and then they would kind of go back and forth like that. Every member was given a short solo performance, and I'm a little torn about how I feel on this. Individually, I thought they were enjoyable. I liked Dahyun's solo piano cover of Try. Chayoung did a solo guitar song, which was a cool way to break up the show. And, of course, the solo performances from Jihyo and Nayeon were great as well. And, of course, I loved seeing Momo go full-on beast mode because she is such a talented dancer. And it was cool to see her do some pole dancing as well. My goodness, when she jumped on that pole, I have never heard screaming that loud in my life. It was pretty deafening. I was glad that I had my earplugs with me. But yeah, I didn't dislike any of those performances individually. Maybe I liked some of them more than others. But the issue for me is that there's 9 of them. And if they're each going to get a solo stage with setup, teardown, and reflections on them, it ends up taking a good chunk of the show. As much as it was nice to hear their take on Seven Rings by Ariana Grande, New Rules by Dua Lipa, or Juice by Lizzo, that's really not what I came to see. And I much would have preferred hearing more of Twice's music in the time that they used for that. I guess it goes back to the fact that K-pop shows are new territory for me, and maybe I'm not used to this being this kind of variety show style where you get all these different things. But, personally, I would have preferred something that was more or less nonstop music, song after song. Which brings me to the inter-show moments, or reflections as I've been calling them. I actually have been to a J-pop show before. I saw Perfume on their last tour. So I am familiar with, the audience participation factor in idol shows and stuff like that. So putting aside whether I felt like those moments should have been included in the show or not, I found the moments themselves to just be really not that interesting. They had this obligatory kind of stand up and tell the class what you learned sort of feel to them. And I just think that they could have been more fun or exciting, or they could have thought of some more interesting audience participation games to do. And I get they were killing time while they're, setting up or tearing down stages. But even then, I thought that time could have been used for something more fun. At that Perfume show I went to, I found those interstitial moments to just be a lot more fun and silly, and there was a lot more energy put into them in general. So yeah, after a few songs, a few solo performances, a few of those interstitial speaking moments, I'm having a pretty good time. I wasn't entirely feeling the show, to be honest. I was wondering if the whole show was going to be like that or not. But, I was having an all right time, and then they start teasing Feel Special, and then out of nowhere, this band just starts playing, and there's somebody ripping a guitar solo, and then there's a bass solo, and then the whole group comes out again, and they start Feel Special, and it's just so epic and awesome. And then Jihyo gives this vocal solo in the middle of the song, and there's fireworks going off. The band is killing it. Then I was like, all right, now I'm in it. Now you've got me. And then right after that, they play Cry For Me, which was great as well. And then the band started playing some kind of like, what sounded to me was like some kind of glam rock or hard rock song. I wasn't entirely sure what was going on. I saw them dancing, and I realized that I was only really hearing what the band was playing. I guess that's just the mix I was getting from where I was, and I didn't hear any of the pre-recorded track. So it just sounded like they were playing some kind of Twisted Sister or Bon Jovi song or something like that. But then they started singing, and I realized they were playing Fancy, and that was cool. It was a cool kind of rock and roll version of Fancy, but that was good as well. And yeah, I've talked about my favorite Twice songs before in another video, so I don't really have to get into that again. But, all those songs, what I consider to be the classic Twice songs, I think they really nailed those. On those songs, the choreography was great. The band was killing it. It was just an overall fantastic performance. And for me, those are the highlights of the show. That's what really made me feel like I got my money's worth. Alcohol Free was absolutely fantastic. I loved that live rendition. I really hope that they release a live album from this tour, because I would really see myself listening to that version of Alcohol Free a lot, to be honest. I thought it was fantastic. And then they did a medley, which, if you can do a medley as an artist with all of your own music, that's just a flex in itself. Like, if you have so many hits that you can't fit them all into the show, so you just play a little bit of each, that's a flex. Would I have preferred to hear Yes or Yes, Likey, What is Love, and Scientist on their own in full outside of the medley? Yeah, to be honest, probably. But, hearing them all in that medley was pretty cool as well. So I can't complain too much. There was a cool Jumbotron dance competition during the encore break, which was pretty cool. I was very impressive seeing some people able to just nail out the choreography for a Twice song on a whim like that. I was thinking that this would have been a really cool audience participation idea to do in the middle of the show. Like, that would have been so much more fun than, just those reflections or speeches. Maybe if Twice were the judges of the dance-offs, or they brought some people onto the stage, or, there's a lot they can do with that. And I thought there was some missed potential there. But just seeing the intensity of the Twice fandom and how far it reaches across different demographics was quite impactful. Like, I saw young children and their families there doing all of the choreography together. I saw elderly people with tears running down their face also doing all the choreography during the show. Like, people I never would have thought would be a Twice fan were just on a whole other level of fandom, and that was pretty crazy to see. So they ended the show with a spin the wheel, kind of choose a song sort of format, which was kind of cool. And it ended up being like Ooh Ah and Celebrate, which, is a pretty solid way to end the show. Like, you bring back the first single you ever did, and then you do a celebratory track that's called Celebrate. I thought it was pretty solid. TT was also on the wheel, which for me, I was really hoping for, because, again, that was the first Twice song that I got into. So that would have been a nice moment for me. But all in all, solid show. I had a fun time. I would go to another Twice concert in the future, possibly. And yeah, it was a memorable, fun night. Hopefully you enjoyed hearing all about my experience seeing Twice. And that was that. See ya.